Hey everybody, it's going to be a quick video on how to add a knife slash melee attack like in Call of Duty. So as you can see here, slice away, and yeah, knife to the ground, whatever you need to do. It also works in third person as well. I mean, this is not the prettiest animation, but you can, I'm sure you'll have plenty of animations. You can find a better one. I just kind of tweaked this one out of an animation that I already had. So let's get right into it. Also this works on multiplayer. Let me show you real quick. So let's see, server on the right, client on the left. And let's see, it comes over here. You can see I'm knifing. And I can knife in this. And same with this one. Knife. And let's see, I'll kill my teammate. So you can spectate me, and you can see that spectating works. Same with third person. Alright, so let's get right into it. First we want to go to HGT, characters, base character, third person character. Open that blueprint up. I scrolled all the way down to the bottom of the blueprint, and I just made a new section here. I did all my work down here because it's empty. So the first thing we want to do is I made an event called Force Stop Reloading. So just right click, create a new event, and you can use this anywhere you need to in the template. Comes in handy just to force the player to stop reloading. So you just set reloading defaults, and I'll let you just pause the video and you can copy this right here. This will just stop all reloading. Once you got that done, you need to make an input. I'm just using 9 for my button right now. Of course, in a real game, you would want to come into Edit, Project Settings, and probably either, if you're in the old Unreal Engine 4, you would do it under Input, which are in Project Settings, Input, and they're under Action Mappings. But as you can see here, they're getting depreciated. So if you're in Unreal Engine 5, which I am on this one, you would come into HGT, you would come into, where is this? Put it under enhanced input, and you can just copy one of these, right click, duplicate, call it IA melee, and then you open it up, and let's see, we're gonna, where do you set this thing? Under settings, triggers, modifier. I think you just give it a name, right? Or you just need this. We don't need anything else. Save. Then you just open up CST IMC here, and then under mappings you would just add one. Then down here at the bottom you just type in IA melee. That gives you your input action, and then you just bind whatever key you want to it. So whatever you want from. I'll just put. Is there a B key? B. I don't think I'm using B right now. And you can set anything else you need, but I think that's all you got to do. Then you come into here and you say IA melee, and there we go. Now we have a melee event. So instead of using 9, we'll use this, and let's see, I think triggered is the one you need after one or more processing ticks. I think one of these runs all the time and one of them runs once. I'll put a print string on it. I'm still kind of new to the Unreal Engine 5 stuff. I set all this thing up, but I sometimes forget about which enhanced input does what. So if I press B, oh yeah, this one runs a lot. So we don't want triggered, we want started. If we press start on that, let's see what happens. There we go. As you can see, it's only printing one time. Okay, so make sure you put it on the started. And then what you want to do is you just want to create a new boolean. Come over here, bottom left, create a new variable here. I called it isMelee or isMeleeing. Change it to a boolean. Do a little branch. Then you want to check, make sure you're not shooting, you're not in a fire cycle, you're not switching weapons. If you have any other states here that you want to add in, go ahead. Basically, if you're doing any of these, like shooting, reloading, or shooting, switching weapons, any of that, then you don't want a melee. So you add those in, do this check, do a check if you're reloading. If you are, force stop reloading, which is this event we created up here. It stops you from reloading. If not, come in here, set meleeing to true. Same with aiming, do a branch. Are you aiming? If you are aiming, stop aiming. False, then you just keep going. So then we take the FP weapon BP right here on the left hand side, one of these components here, drag it into the level, drag off, get the child actor, and then drag off it, set the actor hidden in the game to true. What this does is hide your weapon that you're holding in your hand, and then we're gonna create a new weapon called FP for first person knife. So in the viewport, you can see the red knife up here. I just had a static mesh. I click add static mesh. If you want to use skeleton mesh, you can. Doesn't matter, either one. And then I set it to this knife model that I have here. This cool looking little red knife for testing. And then you just make sure it's under your arms, first person arms. And then you just set the socket that you want it to attach to. So you're going to have to make a socket. So open up your skeleton, and as you can see here, I have a socket under the hand _R called knife socket. So what you do is you right click on hand _R, you click add socket, and then you right click on that socket and say add preview asset, and then you would just type in whatever your mesh is. So mine is the knife. So here's my red knife. You click it, shows up right here, and then you can come in here and you can rotate and move it around and get it to wherever you want in your hand so it looks right, correct. And then you just remember this socket is called knife socket. Come back in here, click on FP knife, and change the socket to the knife socket right here. And you click it and it snaps to your hand like that. And once you have that, you want to make sure that it's set to hidden in game, so make sure that's true. You want to also type in owner and make sure it's set to only owner sees it for the first person one, because you don't want third person people to see that. And then you want to do the exact same thing for the actual mesh here. So this is the third person mesh. You want to go ahead and click on add static or skeletal, whichever one your weapon is, and repeat the same thing pretty much. You add your third person knife, but this time you want to make sure it's set to owner no see. So we did the owner only see on the other one. This time we want to do owner no see. And then also make sure it's set to hidden in game, true. And you can also probably do cast shadow. I unchecked it so that way these knives and stuff don't cast a shadow. It's up to you. I don't think they need to cast a shadow since they're only being displayed for like literally a frame while you're swinging it, and then they hide again. But that's up to you. So now that you have those attached and set using the same socket, like this one is a third person knife, same knife socket because they share the same skeleton. Now that you have that, you can come back to where we were, and you want to take the first person knife, and well, we could probably do the third person as well. I don't know, yeah. We'll do first person. Alright, so then you just set the first person knife, set hidden in the game to false. And then we're going to play the montage on the first person arms. And you're going to need a montage, of course. See, mine is literally just an animation like this. Just swinging his arms. That's literally what it is. So once you have your montage set up, if it's for third person, make sure it's set. The slot here is set to upper body, so that way it'll play on the upper body. If it's for first person, then probably won't even need I have the same exact thing. I just duplicated it for first person. I left the slot as default slot. It works perfect. So what we're doing is I'm just playing the first person one locally before we replicate any of the montage to everyone else, because I figured this tutorial is mainly for a first person melee like Call of Duty. I mean, third person it'll work for third person, but you may need something different. You'd probably want something different if you're a third-person game. Like there's stuff on the marketplace. I think a new melee system with crazy traces and shields and swords. You can use probably something like that for third person if you're really into it. This is mainly for first person. But no, whatever. Let's get back into it. So let's take the first person knife, set it to hidden. Then you want to play the montage on the first person arms, which are right here. And we're playing the knife montage that I just showed you. This one right here. And then on the completed, blend out, or interrupted, all three of those you want to come into the first person knife and make sure that it's hidden. So once it's finished, you hide the knife again, and you take your first person weapon BP and child actor and you set it to not hidden. That way it shows that. Then you wait 0.2 seconds. This is the time you have to wait before you can knife again. I did 0.2 because that felt the best, so you can't just like spam the melee button over and over and over. You can, but it's not going to do anything. You're going to have to wait every 2 seconds in order to melee. And it's at meleeing defaults again. And that will get the animation and everything working, but you also want to do some damage, and you also want third person and spectator and multiplayer. You want it replicated so others can see you meleeing. So what I do is off this top pin here, I just created this little section here. I made a new event that runs on the server. I called it server melee knife damage trace, and I'll show it to you down here. So I just made a new event, and I gave it a start and an end point. We're just doing a line trace, just like we do a gun bullet trace. That's all I'm doing. I'm just doing a line trace. So when you melee, it's literally just shooting like a little invisible bullet. And I gave it a start and an end point here, vector, start and end. So let me come back up here and I'll show you where the start and end. The start and end, I get the camera manager, get the camera location, and that's the start. And then you just get the forward vector from your camera, and you add the location to that forward vector, and you multiply this forward vector by a variable I just created called melee knife range. I set the default value to 220, which felt perfect for first person. You can change this to whatever you want. It's basically how long, if you think of it in terms of a bullet, how far the bullet can shoot. I know we're talking about melee, but this is how far the trace shoots. So 220 felt perfect for first person. And so then you multiply that, then you add these two together, plug that into the end, and then I'll show you what we got here. We'll come back to this. This is where we play the multiplayer animations. We'll start here. We do a line trace by channel, plug in the start and end. You don't have to worry about the debug line trace. I think by default it's set to none. I just plugged this in for debug reasons if you want to see it. This, what is it? If you're playing a server and you hit Q and you're on my template, you'll be able to see the actual line trace and how far it goes. That's up to you. Alright, then off of that, you just drag off the blue, you type break hit result, get to a branch here, connect this red into the branch. This says, did you hit anything? If so, play a new impact effects. You should already have this event, so you just call this. Hit location plugs into location. Hit rotation plugs into the normal. And let's see. We're doing a hit actor, cast a third person character. If true, friendly fire on or off. If friendly fire is on, then you apply damage. If it's off, then you don't. By default, I had friendly fire turned on just for testing. So what this little quick little check here is keeps you from knifing and killing your teammates. So you want to add this so you don't knife and kill your teammates. And then the last thing you want to do is you want to take you want to actually apply the damage. So I'm going to do an apply point damage. The damaged actor is the hit actor here. You can promote this to a variable if you want and set whatever melee damage you want. I just typed in 5,000 for the damage, so it's pretty much going to kill everything in one hit. You can change that. The hit info is this over here. The out hit plugs all the way into the hit info. The instigator is the my player controller. Damage causer is self. And the hit from direction is, this one is you take the trace end is connects to the top minus the trace start, and that plugs in for the hit location or the direction. So once you have all that, you will actually be able to trace and hit. And then we gotta hop into the multicast play melee anim, which we call right here at the beginning of this. So this is a multicast event. Right click, create a new event. Make sure you check the replicate to multicast. And what this is doing, you can tweak this if you want, but this is just going to multicast the animation so everyone else sees it. I like to do it locally for yourself. That way there's no lag or input lag waiting on the network to tell you that you can knife or whatever. So, what we're going to do is basically the same thing. We're going to take and hide your gun. Then you're going to take the first and third person knife and unhide it. Then play the montage on the third person. Like this is the mesh, the third person character mesh right here. We're going to play the knife montage for him. And then you come off the top, and I just did it is locally controlled, which means if you put it off on the faults like I did right here, it'll play it for everyone else and it won't play it for you. Since you've already played it for yourself up here, you're just going to play it for everyone else, which is probably just spectators who are spectating you if they're dead. So you're just going to play the first person melee montage again for them right there. And then down here off of the completed, blend out, and interrupted, off the third person, you just want to set the first person and third person knife back to hidden to true. So you hide the knife and then show your gun. So that's pretty much it. And there's a few little other things that we need to change. So if you toggle back and forth, let's go all the way back to the top of this thing here. At the very tip top, there is a toggle first to third person here. And if you double click on is in first person, it will open up the on rep is in first person, which is also under functions over here. You can type in on rep is in first person. And I'll just type in first person. And it pulls up in the functions right here, the same thing. So what you want to do is when you're toggling between first and third person, you're also going to want to have to hide and show the knife mesh. So basically the one that says hide third person mesh, plug the third person knife into it. The one that says show third person mesh, plug the third person knife into that. Same with the first person, plug the first person knife into it, plug the first person knife into that. And then I also just went ahead and changed the melee range as well. So on the first person, I keep the range at 220. But on third person, I changed it to 500 because it's actually tracing the range from your camera. So in third person, you're going to want to have to melee further to be able to hit something because the camera is a third person camera and it's behind you. So you probably want to play with that number, or you can do it a different way. Like I said, there's a lot of cool melee tracing stuff out there for swinging swords in third person and all that. So if you want to check that out, you can. But let me just show you real quick. Like if I go into see it better in first person, and one player, make the screen big. So let's see, B and Q. So you can see this little pink line. That is our damage trace. Sometimes it shows, sometimes it don't. But basically, if I go into, let's see, I knife this one. Then I go into third person. And knife again. But it's doing a trace from the camera to the crosshairs. So wherever your crosshairs are, that's where it's doing a little trace to. So like I said, it works for third person, but it's mainly meant for first person. It's just not using the crazy advanced traces. It's not doing a whole sweeping trace like some of the fancy third person things on the marketplace do. But if you're watching this now, go claim the one on the marketplace because it's free for the month, and then you'll be good. And if you don't have that one, or if you're watching this video later, then There's plenty on the marketplace for melee trace, and they're like, I've seen some for $5, $10. That's not super complicated things. It's just doing collision traces and sweeps with swords. So I hope that helps. You don't have to take all this as exact knowledge. I just put this together really quick to try to help people. You can copy this logic and tweak it and change it, do whatever you need to do, but I hope it gets you on the right track. I just thought about how Call of Duty and other games like that did it, and it seemed that it happens so quick within like a frame or two of meleeing and then going right back to your gun that I don't think that they would have time to switch the weapon and then switch it right back within a frame or two without breaking something. So by just simply hiding and showing the melee weapons in your primary and prevent you from shooting and stuff like that seems to work great. You could probably do the same thing with grenades and anything like that. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and yeah, see you around.